That one is just a freak. I don't even know what to say about that one. That's the one I found. Is that the one I found in Nevada?
You found it, yeah, with me.
That's right. So it's a long since I picked that one up. Picked this one up in the rain. A lot of rain. We were soaking wet for how long?
All day.
Yeah, literally all day. It was bad. We tried to make a fire. It took us like an hour to get a fire started. It took another hour to dry out. But so yeah, just a freak buck. My friend Wes has some sheds off of this buck. I tried to give it to him, but he didn't want it because he didn't have the other side of this anyway. He actually only has a lot of singles off. I think he got one set. But yeah, just a freak buck. I mean, not a giant, but pretty big beam and just some crazy freaking genetics. So, and it was brown. One of the bigger browns I've found, actually. So that was pretty cool. This one is one of my favorite sheds just because it's just got such a good frame on it. I'm pretty sure this one came off of over by Kanab somewhere. There's two of them I have that are almost identical. One came from over by Kanab and one came from just out of town here. But they're just, I mean, just perfect 4-point genetic. I mean, you just don't get a better looking shed to me. Well, you do. I've got one that's better than that. Alright. So, this buck I jumped looking for sheds off of another buck that I had seen in that area. And it was just one of the prettiest 3-points I've ever seen in my life. And I know I got some good video of this one somewhere. I can't remember which video it is on our channel. But I didn't find a shed off of this buck for 4 years. And I was in there on the muzzleloader hunt glassing, and I glassed this shed up from like a mile away and immediately knew it was him. In like the stupidest, rockiest, nastiest, cliffiest sheep country you could ever find. So I ended up going and picking it up, looked all over for the other side, never did find it. Then about a year, maybe 2 later, started hanging out with Ashton a little bit more, and he had this one from the same general area. 99% sure it's the same buck, just grew up, got a little heavier. He really didn't do much other than that, but I mean, you don't get much taller G2s on a 3-point in this area anyway, especially not that spindly. He's just crazy. Rad 3-point, love that buck. Another big 3-point. Man, I got a lot of big 3-points in there. Forgot about those. I don't know, I'm kind of a 3-point guy. Not a forked in the back 3-point like Ashton likes.
So much better, people.
Here's one. This is a desert country buck. Like low desert country. We got a little spot that I just stumbled into. Didn't even know there was deer in there. Just happened to be. I don't even know why I was in there the first time we found a shed. I think it was on a fire. And anyway, just a great big heavy buck. He only goes like 175, somewhere around there, but just a ton of mass and just a big old gnarly buck. And this is going to be another one that's pretty tough to get rid of, but I probably will. Only because I've been down there 4 times, I think, since then, and haven't found anything else off of him. But just a rad, heavy buck. I mean, look at that, guys. Like, does it get any better of a shape for a 4-point? Like, to me, it doesn't. It's just, it's perfect. The only thing that could be better or bigger is you could have a little bit longer shank here. But, I mean, as far as forks go, you just don't. It doesn't get any better than that. There's just the perfect proportions. Did we ever determine if this was... Don't they have one more of this somewhere that we thought was the same one, but it's not?
Should have.
Should somewhere. Anyway, same country out there in Nevada. It's weird how you can find in some spots that just nobody hits out there. But we got 2 singles off the same buck, and one's a set, and he's just a freak too. And I think there's another one somewhere, but I don't remember where it's at. But like I said, you can tell he's just a freak because those bases, man, just ridiculous. It's got something wrong with him for sure. This year he was kind of normal, but I think my friend Dave's actually got a set or single off of either this buck or his brother, because he looks almost exactly the same. But I mean, just not a real big buck, just cool buck. And this is actually when I colored up, wasn't brown. On our video, what did I call that one? Recoloring antlers cheap, or something like that. So if you want to recolor antlers, there's a video on the channel too of that. Works for some antlers, doesn't work on others, but it'll tell you in that video. So this one was one of the first real, and it's not even really that big, one of the bigger sheds I'd found off this strip. I'd always found sheds out there, but it was the first brown and decent one I'd found. I was pretty excited. I had that cool inline on it. And then Garrett actually had trail camera pictures of this buck when he was still guiding out there, and he had like a 3 or 4 inch eye guard, just a real thin one that came out right there that he broke off. But Never did find the other side of that one either, but that's just another cool shed. Just not giant, but one little extra agar, just cool heavy buck. Story time again, guys. Story time. I like story time. So this buck, the first time I saw it was 3 days after I cut the end of that finger off. I'm not flipping you off. That's the finger I cut off. But yeah, I was bored out of my mind. Just wanted to go look for deer, and went out with a friend of mine, Jordan, and we went out just to go drive a road and just go look at deer, because I wasn't supposed to be out in the cold because I had a skin graft on my finger because they rebuilt my finger out of my arm. I got a scar on my arm right there where they pulled skin off and skin grafted over my finger to build a new one. But yeah, I wasn't supposed to be out in the cold, and it was like 4 degrees that morning. But we went out and we saw this buck rutting does in like January or right by Christmas. It was right by Christmas. And actually, that was right before my son, the one you see riding around the bike in here. It was just a few days before he was born. So I cut my finger off on December 11th, had surgery on the 12th, and Alden was born on the 22nd. So somewhere in between Alden's birth and me cutting my finger off is when I saw this buck. And I went and I looked and looked and looked and looked and tried to find this buck. And when I first saw him, I thought he was 200, 210 inches. He's just got that deep fork everywhere, but he was a super young buck, and I didn't really realize it until I saw him the second time 3 months later. And he was with a whole herd of other bucks like 2 miles away, and I glassed him up from about a mile away and immediately knew it was him. All the other bucks had shed, and they were feeding across this hillside, and I knew I could cut them off if I got up there on the road. Well, I didn't realize that they were so close to the road. So as I drove up the road, it spooked them. They ran off, ran over the hill right before dark. I walked up over, I guess I drove up the road a little bit further, walked up the ridge to try and glass them in the bowl and see where they were at. And I just saw one buck that didn't have any antlers walking into the trees. And I thought, well, whatever, you know, he's going to shed in here somewhere close and soon, because all these other bucks he's with, that he's been running with all year, have all shed and he hasn't. So I spent, I think, 9 days in there gritting. Never found his sheds. I was like, I know they're here. And the next morning when I drove out, I saw 5 bucks that had shed all across the road right in front of me, right as I drove in. And little did I know it was that buck. So I went back, tried to set up some cameras on the water there and see if maybe I got lucky and he was a resident. He wasn't. And one day I just decided I was taking a different path in to go pull my cameras. I was done looking for him, just was ready to give up, and I ended up finding his sheds. He literally dropped them when he went over the hill when I spooked him when I was driving up the road the very first time. And luckily they were still hard white. I found the one in a wash bottom, half buried in tumbleweed, and the other one I found like 100 yards away, laying up against a tree. I think this is the one I found first. He's not quite as big on that side. Kind of got a short G2, but trying to think of a way to do a giveaway. So I'll send a hat to the first guy that guesses what this deer goes, because you'll probably never guess. So let's get a good look. I'll hold them out. Turn this way. I'll even help you out. I'll even wrap my hands to give you his mass measurements so you can see that he has no mass at all. But first guy that guesses what this buck actually scores within an inch, you know, if say he's 1 whatever and 3/8, if you're in that inch, then I'll give it to you. You know, I don't want eighths, I just want inches, whole inches here. So, but yeah, because it's a tough one to guess. It's a really tough one to guess because I wouldn't have guessed it. So anyway, there's that one. Call him the Little Big Typical, because he could have been a giant, but he was like a 3-year-old deer. So wish I could have found more off of him, but never did. So this buck, same shed, same buck, same side, a lot of years apart. I found this one brown actually down there in that desert country. Thought for sure he was just going to be a giant. Like 8 years later, I went in and found this one. And as you can see, he really didn't ever grow at all. He was just a weird buck. Had a lot of crazy extras on him, and he just never really turned into anything other than the extras. You know, he's just short and stubby everywhere. And I mean, I think even matched on this one, he'd only go like 170. He just got nothing to him, but just a cool buck. So a lot of these ones right here, they're just big singles that I never could match up. I think there's one set in there, but I don't know what it is with me and big singles. I cannot freaking match up. I have more single, like 87 to 90 inch plus horns that I just cannot freaking match up. And I have put effort into them. Like when I find a big one, I'll go in there and grid for 3 or 4 days. And after about that third, maybe fourth day is kind of when I give up. But I've even gone longer than that before trying to find them, and still never have. If I don't find it within the first probably, I don't know, half a day, I don't find the other side of big sheds. So this one right here actually got stuck in the mud and just was right by a pond and was waiting for somebody to come pull me out. So I started walking and found, I think, 9 sheds that day. And that was one of them. Just a big old heavy brown shed, just cool buck. And never found the other side of him. Went in there 3 other times. Never found anything else off of him. Don't know where his other one's at. This one I actually found on that same fire I was telling you, where I found that big drop tine one of the kid I was with. And I don't know for sure, but I've heard rumor that this shed is off of Houdini. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Houdini. A giant buck that went over 300 inches, killed off the strip a few years ago. But this may have come off of him, same general area where he was killed. I don't know. I've heard a rumor this came off of Houdini, but if it did, that'd be awesome because he's a freaking legendary buck, and it'd be awesome to have a shed off of him, but I don't know if it is or not. I don't know if there's even any way to prove it other than genetic testing, but if anybody sees it and wants to know or see if they have any more information, let me know because I'd like to know. This one, I can pretty much guarantee you is either the dad or uncle or something of the wall. He's just way too similar. Super palmated back here. He just kind of didn't fill in right here. It's the wrong... No, it's the right side for the wall for his palmation, huh? Yeah, I think it's the right side. The wall basically palmates all the way to here. Inline has a cheater right here. The wall had 2 cheaters and a drop tine cheater. Just same general area within a few miles of each other and just super similar genetics. This one goes 97 inches. I did find another one, actually a brown one that day that I traded a kid for part of the old Toyota I had. But yeah, it's a real similar shed to this one. But I wish I could have found that one too. So I found 2 97-inch single inline 6s in one day. Never could match them up. Went down there, I don't even know. Me and my friend Dave went there for 3 days and didn't find even a shed in there. And I had some other friends that were working in the area, and every day after work they'd go down and they never found anything off of them. So yeah, they just sometimes disappeared and you never find them. But another giant single I can't freaking match up. This one is a lot bigger than he looks. I mean, he's still a pretty big deer. Just that same, just awesome 4-point frame. And he's got a couple little extras here, and he's got like 5 inches of extra down at his base. Just a rad shed. I had no clue this was as big as it was when I glassed it up. It was in the thick grass. And was it me, you, and Jesse that went and picked this up?
Yep.
Yeah, so I glassed it up, and it was just too far away. I couldn't get in there and go get it, so we came in from a different direction, and we didn't find much that day, did we? I think I found a fork and horn when I went to go pick this up, and that was it. But, yeah, big shed. Like, this buck could go with just those couple little extras he's got down here that are scoreable. He goes, like, 192, I think, matched. So a lot bigger than he actually looks, but it's mainly because he's got just those couple of extras. I think that's 2, and that's 1. 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, and obviously the eye guard. So you just got a couple little extras that'll bump his score up. So it really is about a 185-inch buck, but no one I couldn't match up. There's another one I couldn't match up. Glassed that one up. This is about a 92-ish buck. Glassed him up from like 3/4 of a mile away on a big old hillside, just wide open bare hillside. Scoured the country for probably a month after work and just never could match him up. And never even found anything else in there. So just another one of those freak weird ones. So another one I couldn't match up. I don't even know how much it is. The pile's getting bigger. Like I said, guys, I got a buttload of big singles. Another 200-inch typical buck. This one would go, because he's got those extra few inches of eye guard right there, matched. He would go right at 200. Found this right on the other side of a fence line. Was sick as hell that day, had a cold, and actually got sick while I was out shed hunting, and been in there 3 other times and have never matched this one up either, but he's just got some rad freaking eye guards on him. Had something here too, he broke off, but another giant single, never found. Are you guys getting frustrated and pissed yet that I have so many big singles I can't match up? Because I am, now that I'm looking at it. So this buck, I actually found right after, no, it's over here. That one. Okay, so here's another little short story. So this freak that I showed you earlier, when I found it, I saw this one first. I saw the bones. They weren't even the bones from the deer. They were cow bones, actually. And I looked over, and I saw this. I walked over to go pick it up, and I walked around the other side of it to take a picture. And I looked up, and like 10 yards away was this one laying there. And I was like, hell yeah. You know, you just don't get lucky like that. Find some crap, weird shed like that. It's crusty, and then find something like this. This one, too, would go right there, that 200 mark. Some friends actually were hunting this deer that year, and I scoured the country looking for his shit, or his match, too, and his other year. There should be 2 years out there now. And then the other side of this one, but I can't find that one anywhere either. But just another big single that I'll probably never match up. And more big singles. Big singles for days. That one I found walking back to the truck from a fire, actually. And scoured the country later on that year when it cooled off and we were done with fire season. Never found anything off of him either. He's right off the road, actually, like 10 yards off of a road, just in some heavy sage. Cool inline buck, just got that weird genetic out there, but never did find anything else off of him either. Kind of bummed on that one. He's a really cool buck. And then this one is just an absolute slob of a 3-point. And I found this one basically running from a fire. I was going to kind of a safety zone, you know, where it wasn't really just cranking or anything, but it was getting to the point where I needed to move out of where I was at, so I was booking it out of there. And this one was actually laying up against a piece of sage, just like that. And I almost kicked it when I walked by, and I never found the other side of that one either. Been in there 4 or 5 times since then, and have never found the other side of it, but just a freaking slob of a 3-point. Love this tread. Said I like the big 3-points. I would kind of wish he didn't have that. I wish it was just a clean 3, but I still don't know if I'd call that a cheater or a real true fork. I call it a cheater because it doesn't look like a fork to me, but you guys tell me what you think. I'm calling it a 3-point. And this one actually is a set. So yes, I do occasionally match them up. About 190-inch typical, not super giant, but pretty good size. Found this one the same fire that I found that one and a bunch of these other ones on. There just happened to be, I think it's because it's right by a water tank, so there's a buttload of sheds down there. But this one, I was walking back out to the fire from our morning briefing, and I just took a different path and found one laying in the sage. And I was like, sweet, you know, I'm like 10 yards off the road. I'm going to walk back. I guess it was more than that, about 100 yards off the road. I just walked back to the truck because I didn't want to pack it all day and to drop it in the truck. And as I was walking back, found the other side like 10 yards off the road. So I do get lucky occasionally and match up big sheds. So once again, not an absolute giant, but a pretty big set. Pretty happy on that one. So now that we've covered, get them all? We did, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this one I do have video picking up both sides. I think it's called Finding the Delk Buck. I think it's on our channel. Cool story about this one. I had heard rumor from a couple different people that down in this low desert country that there was a big buck spotted like 5 years ago. And I was like, you know what? I know there's a ton of coyotes down there in that country. I'm going to go down and just do some glassing. I'm bored, you know. Kind of late in the season for coyotes. It was March, so they were kind of in their breeding season, you know. And I was hoping to just get lucky and glass some shit. It's pretty wide open. And I was mainly going down to just check out some new country and try and get a few coyotes. Well, I ended up shooting 2 coyotes and had to walk way further than I wanted to into this stand to get in and actually have a chance of killing a coyote. So you guys that coyote hunt quite a bit have probably done this before. You walk in thinking it's going to be awesome on the other side of a ridge, and it's not. So you go to the next ridge, and it's not. And you go to the next ridge, and before you know it, you're a mile in, and you're like, crap, I'm just going to make a stand because I'm way far from the truck. So I was about a mile, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to make a stand, whatever, and I'm going back to the truck. So I sat down, started calling, and the sun was coming up pretty good. It was later in the day, and I called this coyote, and he stopped. He hung up on the hill at like 400 or 500 yards, and I kind of turned with the video camera to try and get him on video and shoot it myself, and when I turned, the camera caught some sun and spooked him, and he ran off, and I couldn't find him. Well, I had my binoculars with me, so I started glassing, trying to pick up this coyote on the ridgeline, and I couldn't find him, and finally I spotted him, but he was going away at like 900 yards, and as I was watching him go over the ridge, I glassed up this shed, and it looked like a good shed, but I wasn't really sure what it was. And it was way up in the sheep country. I'm talking like straight up rock climbing cliff stuff. And there was one little bench that it was laying on. And I knew it was a shed, and I knew it was good size. I didn't know how big. But I was like, well, I got to go get that thing. So I went back to the truck, grabbed the rest of my stuff, started walking up the ridge, and I picked up 3 sheds and a deadhead on the way. The deadhead had shed one side, been lying killed, and I couldn't find the other side. I don't know why. But yeah, it was crazy. He only had one side. It was just still brown too, like really fresh, probably 2 or 3 days old. But I was stoked that I'd found sheds going up there. I was like, sweet man, I'm going to kill it. And I got up there, and that's when I saw that thing. And the reason we call it the Delk buck is I saw it laying tines down like that, and it looks like a freaking elk shed. I mean, I couldn't see that actually where I was laying in the grass, but he just has a weird shape to him. It looks like an elk shed. And I was just floored. I couldn't believe it was the biggest shed I'd ever found. This is the only shed I have that breaks 100 inches. I think he's like 101. Another funny story about this, my friend Cal, if you're watching, Cal, this one's for you. Went to go show him the shed. He came down for a work party or some work training or something, and he was holding the set. We were in his motel room, and he kind of just chucked it to throw it on the other bed so he could pick up another set, and it bounced off the bed, hit the floor, and snapped this drop tine off right in the middle of it. And he was freaking out. He's like, I'm so sorry, dude. It's like, dude, don't worry about it. It's a shed. You know, people get so upset about sheds, whether it be somebody found the other side, somebody wouldn't give them a side, whatever the case may be. They're still sheds. They're not the experience that you have. They do remind you of the experience, but they're still just sheds. And he just couldn't believe that I wasn't pissed about breaking this shed, because it's the only one I have over 100 inches out of all these sheds I've ever found. Thousands of sheds. It's the only one I've ever found that's over 100 inches. And I was like, dude, don't worry about it. I'll just glue it back on. And honestly, you can't even tell. Like, I just took some Elmer's glue and glued it back on there, and it broke clean enough, you can't even tell that it was broken. Now, had it been a brown set, I might have been a little bit more pissed because it'd be hard to fix, but I mean, this thing had been laying for quite a while. So, anyway, I went in, looked for the other side, was really hoping I was going to be able to find it. I got up literally right to where I found that shed, and I pulled out my binoculars, and I saw this one laying there. It was laying tines down, and I could just see this back end right here from that angle, I guess. I could just see those 4 points sticking up through the grass, and I was pretty sure it was the same deer, not 100%. So I went over to go pick it up, saw it, and I was like, yep, that's the same buck. And then I picked it up, and I was like, what the hell is this? It was laying on a mouse hole, and a mouse chewed the crap out of that thing. So I was kind of pissed about that, but whatever. Still a rad set. And the second biggest scoring thing I have, had he matched, his big side, he'd been even bigger. Garrett still thinks this buck got killed a couple years ago on the gov tag, and he went like 270 something, I think, or almost 280. I don't think it's the same buck, just because this one just, I don't know, he just got such short beams, and he just lays weird. But the one that got killed in the gov tag, he does have this. Basically the same thing, got crazy bases, all the inlines, how this one's kind of turned a little bit, it's got that same thing, so I don't know, it could be. If I can find a picture of it, I'll throw it up on the video and see what you guys think with the same buck or not. I just don't think he is, because this buck's got such short beams. stunted. I think he just has short beams, so I don't think it's the same buck, but whatever. Garrett, I know you do. And last but not least, this is the pride of my whole collection, and I hate to say it, but I think I'm going to sell it because I know where it's going to go. It's going to be in better hands than in mine because it's been sitting in my garage for almost 10 years. Call him Fabio. Garrett calls him Fabio, or called him Fabio, because he's just so big and perfect. We pull off to the side of the road, and everybody eats their lunch, and we're all used to eating in a hurry, so it took us like 5 minutes to eat. And we were all just kind of relaxing. A couple of guys took naps. I was sitting there playing Monopoly on my phone, and my friend Dave was like, I'm going to go look for sheds real quick. I was like, all right, just be back, by 2 o'clock. And he's like, all right, I'll be back in a little bit. And he's like, you're not going to go look for sheds? Because I always look for sheds. Every spare moment I have, I'm looking for sheds. And I was like, no, I'm not going to go. I'm like, I'm not going to find anything. This place, there's hardly any deer out here. So I finished my game of Monopoly, totally kicked butt on the game. I was just killing it on Monopoly that day. And I was like, okay, I'm bored. I'm going to go look. I got a half hour. So I walked up this little draw, picked up a forked horn. It was crusty as hell. Walked over the ridge, picked up a little 3-point, and right after I picked up the 3-point, I bumped a buck out of his bed, but it was real thick, and I never did see what he was. So I decided I was going to track him down at this open spot and see if I could see what he was. He was a good buck or not. It's kind of late in the summer, and they were pretty well full grown by then, and I wanted to see what he was. So I started following his tracks, and they went down and crossed this other little road, and kind of went out this ridge line, and as I'm walking out the ridge line, I look out on the other ridge line, and I saw this laying there, tines down. I can't remember. I think it was laying, well, from your perspective, it would have been laying like that. So I just saw that it was a shed. And I couldn't tell how big it was. I just saw it was like 200 yards away, but I could see it naked eye 200 yards away. And I was like, oh, cool, awesome, another shed. I'll go pick it up. So I followed the buck's tracks, and they actually literally went right to this shed and jumped over top of this shed. So that was kind of cool. And I picked it up, and I was like, wow, that's a pretty good shed. And it's like, cool. I finally got a big one, a good one. I didn't even think anything of it until I was walking back to the truck. I had about 10 minutes left, and we were only like maybe 400 yards away. It wasn't that far. So I started walking back to the truck, and Dave always jokes with me, and anytime he has anything good, he always goes to hide it behind his back when he's walking back to the truck. So I went like this and tried to hide it behind my back, and I was like, crap, I can't hide it behind my back. So I was just like, holy crap, that is a big shed. That is a freaking giant shed. What do I have here? And then I wanted to go look for the other side, but had to go to the fire. So we left. Needless to say, I didn't make it back out, look for the other side until November, and that was late July, early August, somewhere around there when I found this one. And we went back, me and Dave did, and we were just bound and determined to find it. And I looked, I went right to where I found this one and started just circling. Found 3 other little sheds while I was there, just ding 3 points. And then it was almost dark. Dave went one direction, I went the other direction. I had this one little patch of trees I was going to go grid out. And as I was walking to the patch of trees, like 200 yards from where I found the first side, I found the other side laying there. Tines up, right in the middle, wide open. And I didn't know if it was him or not at first because he's just a little bit different shape. But I figured it had to have been. There's no way there's 2 giant typicals out there like that in that close of an area. And it was the right side that I needed to find. So I brought it back to camp. As hell, it was the same buck. So I was kind of disappointed that this was the big side. I was hoping this was going to be the small side. This side is 7 inches smaller than this side. The set goes, I haven't measured it in a while. I know it's shrunk a little bit over the years, but when I very first measured it, it was 208 5/8. So just under 209 inches as a straight typical. Just a freaking slob. The G4 on that side, it was, I don't know if it still is, like I said, it's been a while since I measured it. It was 16 1/8. The G2 on this side is actually a little bit longer than this one. I think it was like 18 3/4 and 19 1/8, something like that. I mean, just a freaking slob of a deer. And I went back out and absolutely scoured the country for months. Every chance I got looking for another year off this buck. And I'm pretty sure he got killed the next year. I think Clay Bundy's hunter killed him. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure because the buck they killed was real similar. His eye guards were a little bit different, but looked a lot alike. And he went 207, I believe. So I'm pretty sure he was killed. So there should have been another set out there somewhere between those 2 years. But anyway, that's the pride of my collection right there. I don't know exactly how he would have sat. I don't know. Some of those bucks turn in, some of them white lay out. I don't know. A lot of those bucks out in that country kind of turn out a little bit. I'd guess somewhere about like that. But anyway, that's the pride of my collection. So we'll see where this one ends up. Maybe, I don't know if I can get rid of it or not. We'll see. But like I said, it's been sitting in my garage for 10 years, so I think it's about time for it to move on and for me to make some room for some more sheds, make some more memories, because that's what it's all about. Hopefully, guys, we'll be able to get out and do some shed hunting this year. Me and Ashton are trying to get out and hit a couple spots before I get too busy with fire season. But I've got a Lake Powell trip planned. I've got a birthday party for my stepdad this next weekend. I've got a lot of stuff to do to get ready for fire season. Still working on the Toyota, and Ashton's not out of school yet, and he works and goes to school, so I don't know if we're going to make it out at all this year, at least not till fall, so I may go basically zero for sheds this year. I do have the one, which is very disappointing because normally by now I'm sitting at 30 or 40. But yeah, that's my shed addiction. I know a lot of you guys out there love sheds too, and go ahead and comment below, guys. Give us some of your shed stories. That's why I do these, because I know guys like hearing about them. We all do it pretty much for the same reason, and it's fun to see what other people have found. So figured I'd better get you guys to see the pile and the collection, what's left of it, before I sell it all tomorrow or the next day, and give me a good chance to relive, can't even speak, relive some of these memories, and make me look forward to getting out and making more of them, because that's, like I said, what it's all about, making those memories. Get out, get some exercise, see some stuff you never thought you'd see, and just see what you can find. So, thanks for watching, guys. We're trying to get some more stuff up on the website. This is one of the shirts we should hopefully be having coming out here in the next month or so. We do still have hats on the website, so if you want any hats, hit up hiddeninstinct.net and go grab you a hat. Thanks for watching, guys, and hopefully I'll have a shed video for you here in the next month or two of me actually getting out and picking some up. If not, Lake Powell trip is going to be coming up here in about 2 or 3 weeks. Thanks for watching.